Yeah. Pro Fan Sports Podcast. Let's get it. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam. Sean on the mic, very flat too. Keep you updated, that's what we do. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Pro fans, tune into the program. Every single week, get the dope, fam.
Yo, what to do, everybody? It's your boy, John Altidor, Pro Fan Sports Podcast, back at you with another one with my boy, Vlad. Barry will be here in a second, but back on Pro Fan Sports. We're so excited to have it back on. It's news editor at Fox Sports, podcast host at CLNS Media, Almost Shameless Podcast. It's the great Tanya Ray Fox. Welcome back on the show.
Yeah, I'm so excited. Thank you guys for having me. I'm happy. It's been a while, so I'm happy to be back on.
Absolutely. I was kind of sad we couldn't have you back on last year because the Patriots didn't make it to the Super Bowl. So, I was hoping, we made it there. I'm like, we need Tanya back on, but this is better than nothing.
Exactly.
Yeah, thank you all for coming back, Tanya. It's great to have you on, and happy birthday. I know you just had a birthday.
Yeah.
So wanted to wish you happy birthday, on the podcast. So we appreciate you for taking the time on your birthday to being here with us and joining the show. So thank you, Tanya.
Definitely. I'm always working on holidays anyway. I worked all day. Yesterday was my actual birthday. Worked all day. That's just what I do. I'd rather be talking about sports than doing anything else anyway. So I appreciate it. Thank you for the birthday wishes.
Yeah, no problem. Absolutely. Anytime.
So, obviously you're here for a reason, Tanya. Patriots season's back on. We had a rough start to the season, but yesterday, Sunday, the 9th, we played the Lions, and we had a pretty good outcome. What was your thoughts on the game yesterday? And and Zappe fever, I believe, is going on in Boston right now.
Yeah, I think the game went honestly the way that I expected it to. I didn't expect a shutout because you never expect a shutout in the NFL. It's incredibly impressive to hold an NFL team to 0 points for 60 minutes of football. No matter what some of the people on the internet would like to say, it's very impressive. Regardless of how high-flying the Lions offense was or wasn't prior to that week, they held an NFL team to 0 points. Impressive, especially when you have a third-string quarterback in his second game, his first ever start. That's, whatever. But at the same time, you had a really good, potent offense that had been playing well against a really good defense. And so that matchup, I thought, was always going to be good for the Patriots. It was going to give them an opportunity to shut down some things that other defenses in the league hadn't shut down. They did that. And on the other side of the ball, the defense for the Lions is trash. So, it was always going to give Zappe a little bit of room to move around a little bit. And, luckily, I don't know whose call it was. I hesitate to give Matt Patricia that much credit, but they ran the ball a ton. I saw a lot of people trying to give him, they were like, well, Patricia and Judge really came together to, put together a game plan for Bailey Zappe. And I'm like, I'm not sure that you can draw up Ramondre Stevenson having 161 rushing yards. That's just kind of Ramondre going ham. That wasn't a game plan you had. Especially you didn't plan on Damian Harris being out and everything else like that. So it was impressive. I expected them to win the game. It was just a good matchup for the Patriots defensively against their offense, and all the Patriots really had to do in that game. It turned out all they had to do was score one single point to beat them, and they scored 29. A lot of it was defense and Nick Folk, as it will be a lot for the rest of the season. But I liked it, and the division's making it tough for them. It looks worse on the actual standings than it is, because the Jets are now apparently kind of good, and there's all these little things that are happening. But I think that there's room to be impressed by Bailey Zappe if you want to feel that way. I'm happy about it,
Yeah, we heard some Zappe chants yesterday.
Yeah, why not?
I don't think we've heard chance in a long time at Gillette Stadium. Maybe, I mean, I know what I think, but, seems like online, everybody was talking about, Zappe, taking over the reins. And can you talk a little bit about, does Mac Jones have anything to worry about with Zappe's performance yesterday?
I don't think he has anything to worry about in the Bledsoe having Brady take over for him situation, that level kind of first of all, Mac Jones isn't Drew Bledsoe and Bailey Zappe very likely is not Tom Brady, right? So we need to stay away from those comparisons. Drew Bledsoe had played in a Super Bowl. He had reinvigorated the franchise and all that stuff when he got hurt, and he got real hurt. It wasn't a high ankle sprain, So these are it's a totally different situation. But I do think that they're in some ways they've proven with Bailey Zappe that they can do as much as they were doing with Mac Jones. Is Mac Jones a more experienced, better quarterback in his career at this point? Of course. Let's not be crazy. Of course, that's true. If Mac isn't more productive than Bailey Zappe when he returns to this offense, then that's a problem. And I think that's more of should he be worried that he's going to get his starting job back? No. Should he be worried that we now have something to compare him to? Yeah, a little bit, because the offense was incredibly stagnant prior to him getting injured. And it was stagnant yesterday too, don't get me wrong. They had one touchdown. That offense was not killing it. But there were some of the things that we wanted to see, Zappe, his accuracy in pushing it downfield at this point in his career is going to be slow but sure. But he's confident, and he didn't seem to have the jitters the way that Mac has this year. And I don't know, man, Mac deserves his job back to prove everything. And yes, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge coming together to figure out this offense is taking time. And every week that goes by, they're getting better at it. So Zappe is obviously going to be the recipient of them just getting a little bit better at figuring out what they're doing offensively. But no, I think it would be, first of all, it would be career insanity to draft a quarterback 15th overall and then give up on him in week 4 or 5 of the next season. You just don't do that. He deserves, when he comes back, to play out the rest of the season and see how that goes. But it never hurts, by the way, for a quarterback like Mac to have someone breathing down their neck. It either kills you or it makes you stronger. And I think it's good for Mac to have a little bit of that breath on the back of his neck, a little bit of that someone lurking in the corner waiting for his job. That'll push a good quarterback to become better.
Does yesterday's win mean anything? Do you think, because I think we all were looking for a confident win or something that was a statement win, right? And I think for me, I'm reluctant to say that because I just think Bill Belichick has Jared Goff's numbers. So in your opinion, does the win mean anything? Do you feel as though the defense played better or the offense was better? Or do you think we got lucky because we had the Lions and Belichick just has his numbers?
Yeah, I mean, definitely Jared Goff has a problem playing Belichick for sure, but it's for two different teams and two different systems. And so sometimes we like to boil things down to Jared Goff just gets the jitters when he plays Bill Belichick, and Bill Belichick knows how to scheme against him, all that stuff. But realistically, these are two different offensive systems that he's shut down. The Eagles couldn't shut down the Lions offense. The Seahawks last week definitely couldn't shut down the Lions offense. The Commanders couldn't shut down the Lions offense. The Vikings couldn't shut down the Lions offense. So Belichick's defense shutting them out completely is impressive. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter who you're playing. 0 points is really impressive. And the way that they did it was really impressive. They're all those 4th down stops over and over and over again. This is stuff that you don't see in the NFL in 2022. It doesn't matter who your quarterback is. It would be hard to do that against any backup quarterback in the NFL. So, it's incredibly impressive. It says a lot about where the defense is at, and that was a statement win for sure for the Patriots defense. They are, they through these first 5 weeks have had the toughest offensive DVOA facing of opponents. So that defense being as good as they've been against the opponents that they've faced is really impressive. Nobody who got on the internet today and tried to diminish it was really looking at how difficult it is to do that in an NFL game in 2022, especially against a team that was averaging 35 points a game. For sure, there's an aspect of that, but let's just say, for the sake of argument, he does have Jared Goff's number, right? And they've been averaging 35 points against decent teams. Well, fine. Maybe they only score 10 points, or maybe they only score, 13 points. They scored nothing. They couldn't get anything going. And that's something to be said. On offensively, they're so vanilla. It's very difficult to see where they go from here unless Ramondre Stevenson is popping off. And, Damian Harris, obviously you want him healthy, things like that. But there's been enough glimpses that you could see this team kicking and defending their way into a spot where they're above 500 and still in competition for a playoff spot halfway through the season. And that's I think the best you can ask for right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, for sure. Wanted to ask you, Tanya, this the play of Bailey Zappe, and and particularly the offense since he's been on the field, does it make the coaching staff in particular, Matt Patricia and Joe Judge, look better than if Matt Jones was on it? Because I've been hearing a lot of people saying that, so kind of just wanted to get your take and your opinion as far as if you think it makes makes it look better if Zappe playing well as opposed to Matt Jones.
Yeah, no, I mean, I don't think so. When it comes to starting rookie quarterbacks and having them feel confident going out there, that's Bill Belichick. I don't think people understand completely how much Bill Belichick does offensively between games and how much he works with making sure the quarterbacks are ready. And there's a reason. Yes, there's some shenanigans about pay and different things like that when you don't name an OC specifically, but it's also because they're not true OCs. Yes, Matt Patricia will have a play call sheet. Yes, there are who's on the headset, all that stuff. But when it comes to preparing a quarterback in Zappe's situation, Belichick has a lot to do with that. And he drafts guys who are going to be confident going out there day one for a reason. He drafts these sort of vanilla high percentage passers from college for a reason. Do I love that he's, listen, there are times where I replay in my mind N'Keal Harry getting drafted right before Lamar Jackson, and I want to jump out a window. And because I know Bill Belichick wanted him, he wanted him, but he's also smart enough to know that Justin Fields wasn't going to be Lamar Jackson. And that's something I'm not smart enough for. I wanted them to draft Justin Fields. He knows what he's doing when he drafts these guys. He knew what he was doing when he drafted Bailey Zappe as a backup for Mac Jones specifically, so that they could run the same offense with both those guys. They're the same guy. Was just a lower level NCAA player who actually set a ton of records at his college, right? So I really think it's I just can't give the credit to Judge and Patricia beyond they did what they had to do while Belichick's defense and the kicker, once again, another kicker that Belichick brought in that saved his ass 1,000 times, and his special teams, well, those units are doing the majority of the work.
No, that's facts, for sure.
That makes a lot of sense. Obviously, in the NFL, it's offense is king. Everybody's talking about Bailey Zappe. He did a good job managing the game for sure yesterday, and we won. But I think you touched on it, the defense, and the job they've been able to do so far. And, a lot of people give Belichick a lot of crap on the drafting stuff. But one player in particular, that's making him look really good is Jack Jones on the defense. I was looking at the stats. It looks like J.C. Jackson right now has 0 interceptions on the year, and Jack Jones has, 3. 3 in what? 2 games? Is that what it is?
Yeah.
Now, what do you think about Jack Jones and is it him? Is it the system? Like, is Belichick, deserves some credit there?
Yeah, he always deserves credit when it comes to the defensive backs in his system. Early on in his dynasty, it was all about the linebackers and the defensive line. And as it became a more potent passing league, in part because of the revolutions of Peyton Manning and Tom Brady in 2007, in the offenses that they started running in the middle of that dynasty, when everyone gives them shit for not winning rings, but they were actually overhauling and like revolutionizing offense in the NFL. People won't talk about it, but that did happen. So as the offensive revolution started happening, he started focusing really on defensive backs, and he's been very good at building his secondary and rebuilding it every year to be competitive. And even when they've started off seasons really bad, they've tightened up. I mean, you guys remember what happened in like the 2019 season when they were so bad, and then they got so good by the end of the year. They were one of the tightest defenses in the league. Jack Jones is exactly like the reason he got rid of JC Jackson. We don't know that he's doing that when he trades JC Jackson. So all of us are always like, why are we doing this again? And I tweeted about this because I was like, every time he trades a star cornerback, I'm the asshole who's like, why is he doing it again? As if he's not going to prove me wrong always. From bringing in Stephon Gilmore and getting rid of Malcolm Butler to getting rid of Stephon Gilmore, and he's got JC Jackson. Then he gets rid of JC Jackson. He's got, Jack Jones, and he also has, he's got Kyle Duggar at safety. Obviously, when you have really good safeties like Devin McCourty and guys like that have been pros for a minute and know how to really like not only be play callers on the secondary, but are leaders, and it brings the cornerbacks along really well. So it is both system and the fact that Jack Jones is a monster. Like you can see him tracking. He can track in zone. He can track in man. Like there's really nothing that he has been assigned to do in his rookie season so far that he's like totally fallen flat on his face with. Like if anything, he's probably one of the more underrated rookies in the league right now. But it's always because like you don't have a guy who's run a system as strong as Bill Belichick's run for 2 decades without understanding that, of course, it has to do with that system. And when you see the production of the other guys on the defense and what they're doing, what the safeties are doing, whether they're in too high, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter what they're doing. Jack Jones knows where he's supposed to be. That's coaching and that's team leadership on top of his just natural talent. And Bill Belichick has a natural eye for corners and safeties. He just does. That's just a fact. And his drafting record proves it, not a great wide receiver drafter. If you look back at Andy Reid's drafts over the last 6 years, you'd be surprised how not great they are. We focus on these things because of outcomes and certain deficiencies that you perceive. And like you said, like offense, if there's a deficiency on the offense, we notice it more than on defense. But this day and age, with the way these teams pass, if you don't have good corners and safeties, you're not making it to the Super Bowl. And if you do make it there, you're getting your ass kicked. And that's just how it is. So I'm incredibly impressed with Jack Jones. And I think that he's the perfect example of what happens when you draft the right player into the right system.
I totally agree, and I love his confidence out there, man. When he's coming back, I say keep it going. Listen, don't worry about anybody. Just do what you do, man. We got the Browns, Bears, Jets twice, and Colts coming up in the next few weeks. Are we looking at a repeat of last year where we ripped off 7 straight wins, or you see these teams coming in and being a problem for the Patriots?
Well, so it's always interesting. So the Browns are an interesting team, right? Like they can score points. Jacoby Brissett's not afraid of Bill Belichick. So that'll be an interesting game. I do think that they're probably on equal level in terms of their capability to win games for completely different reasons. Nick Chubb's a monster right now, and everybody's talking about Saquon but Nick Chubb's playing his ass off. So, the run D will be something that will have to really step up. And if you can stop Nick Chubb, the Browns can't win. So if, it's kind of like that makes me confident. The question is, can the Patriots score points if their defense isn't scoring and they're not getting into field goal range? Now you're into some issues. When it comes to the Jets, I hate division games because you look at the Jets and you're like, okay, this is a young quarterback. Belichick does well against these guys, but they're division games and these players have seen each other before, and I never take those for granted. So I always like to say anytime when you've got two teams in a short span like that, just assume you're going to split them. Assume you're going to split them for whatever reason. And then, as far as the Colts, we're not doing this. If they lose to the Colts, they've got way bigger issues.
Yeah, that's the problem.
We're not losing to Matt Ryan and the Colts. No. So I think that they could win. I think that they could win 5 of the next 7 games, but they're not going to be pretty. And we're not going to come out of it this team looks amazing. We're going to come out of it okay, they're winning tough matchups. They're winning the right way for this team. But I haven't seen nothing from the offense so far that makes me think there's a system there that's going to continue to progress. That's my frustration is I want to be going into late November games feeling like this is a system that I understand. And right now I don't understand what they're doing. And part of that is because they've had to obviously simplify things even more for Bailey Zappe. So is that their fault? No, but it still doesn't leave me with a ton of confidence about their firepower. I mean, you look at their offensive numbers and it's just a bummer. But matchup wise, they do have opportunities defensively to take some of these younger, inexperienced quarterbacks completely out of the game. And I think that they will do that just like they did to Jared Goff. I mean, they took Aaron Rodgers out of an entire first half. This defense is not to be screwed with. Don't let anyone tell you otherwise. They're not to be screwed with. And that gives me a lot of confidence that Belichick can win in a way that other teams aren't winning in 2022. Whether they can carry it into a 10-7 season, that remains to be seen, especially once you get to the back end of the season with those games and stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, which is looking very, very scary to say the least. Back in that schedule, I was looking it up after the game yesterday, and that gives me goosebumps. And I get chills when I look at that schedule and look at that stretch. It's scary.
Now we know how the Bills used to feel during the Patriots Brady days. We're on the other side of it, and it sucks.
Damn right.
I think we ask everybody that comes on here how do they feel about Joe Judge and Matt Patricia, and I think early on into the conversation you already voiced your opinion about how you feel about those guys. And how do you think this offense is gonna do, especially as we talked about toward the back end of the season? Do you think those guys are able to improve the offense so much that it can keep up with the defense? I mean, I think yesterday I was kind of happy with the use of Hunter Henry. I feel as though that's somebody that they haven't used. So it shows that they're slowly making more use of the guys that they have. But I don't know. I'm just not confident in those guys. And how do you feel about that?
Yeah, I mean, you shouldn't have to adjust to using your 2 tight ends and Kendrick Bourne, who was really good last season, and Nelson Aguilar, who exactly who he is and how he can stretch the field, and Devontae Parker. There's a ton of we know exactly who these players are. They are not rookies. So I'm very confused why they don't seem to understand how to use them and use them to the fullest potential for limited quarterback Mac, who's still figuring stuff out, and an even more limited quarterback who's just needs everything simplified because he's simply new to the system, and Bailey Zappe. Tight ends are really easy to utilize when you have the plays for them. And I know Josh McDaniels didn't use them to their highest capability last season either, but Hunter Henry was really important to Mac Jones in his rookie year, and as was Kendrick Bourne. And it seems like they've gone away from that. I don't have any trust that Matt Patricia won't make everything he does about him. I think he has a huge ego. I think that ego has been fed into by Bill Belichick. I don't understand why. I don't get their relationship whatsoever. I trust Bill. I don't always trust the people that Bill trusts. And I just don't know how to explain it any better. Like, I do think that Matt Patricia is somebody who's arrogant enough to think that he can do something better than Josh McDaniels did, and he can't. And it's very clear. And Josh McDaniels was running a very simple offense last season that I wish could have been a little more dynamic. But that offense got a rookie to the playoffs. And whatever Matt Patricia is trying to do just looks like a shittier version of what McDaniels was doing last year. You know, every time something good works, every time something works and they incorporate the run effectively, it's straight out of McDaniels. So no matter what we're seeing, it's not anything new. It's not anything innovative. And it's certainly not anything that's going to get a quarterback that is still progressing like Mac Jones to get over the hump. He has regressed in this season. Fact. Like, he's regressed. Yes. So I have no idea, but Matt Patricia will get my respect when he earns it, and no sooner. And he has not even come close. As far as Joe Judge, he was a great special teams coach. If he wants to do that, he can go back to it, but he was also a bad head coach. And the Giants being very good right now, despite still having the same exact quarterback that Joe Judge had, is just another reminder. Both these guys were failed head coaches for a reason. Neither of them should be on a headset. I don't get it, but it's where we're at, so we'll see.
So with that said, what's your overall what do you think? Do you think we're gonna make it to the playoff? Like, what do you think?
No, I don't. But I do think that it's not because, like, it's not that I don't believe that the Patriots will have an okay season. I actually do think that where the defense is at and some of the things that they're able to still do offensively, even with such a limited play call sheet and limited quarterbacks, is impressive. It's just the rest of the AFC. Like, their current division is not letting them get away with anything. Like, right now, they're in fourth place. And we know the Bills aren't giving it up. And we know that if the Dolphins get Tua back, they're much better than they've been. And the Jets do actually have a lot of good young players. Do I think they're better than the Patriots? No, but like, they're making it competitive. And that's not to mention the fact that, like, the Bengals and the Ravens still exist. The Browns are still in that division. Who knows what happens when Deshaun Watson comes back, what that team looks like. You know, like, the AFC South is doing everyone a favor by being garbage. That's awesome. Love to see it. And then the AFC West is probably going to have two playoff teams come out of it. I do think the Chargers are going to figure their stuff out. So it's less about the Patriots and more about, like, I do think that there's just teams with bigger margins for error. You can screw up a game like the Chargers did yesterday, knowing that Justin Herbert is on your team, like, knowing that you have the ways to get yourself out of these holes that teams dig themselves with their schedule. And, like, you know, the Patriots just have very little room for error. And until Mac is healthy and puts together a string of games where he throws touchdowns, I can't believe in this offense enough that it can get them to the playoffs. I hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. I hope you're wrong as well.
Me too.
You brought up Tua, and I think, you know, we be doing a disservice if I didn't bring Tua up, and, you know, what's going on in the NFL right now with the concussions and the changes in the concussion protocol. What are your thoughts on what's been happening? Obviously, there's been a spike in concussions and them being reported and players being out. You know, Brian Hoyer was just knocked out, and, you know, he's probably going to be out for a couple more weeks with a concussion situation. What are your thoughts on that and what the NFL is doing right now?
Yeah, well, I mean, the NFL had started to get really lax on their concussion protocol, and they do that knowing that unless we call them on it, they're going to get away with it. It's what they've done forever. They still don't really believe that it's their problem, to be quite honest. So a lot of what they've done has been like legally something they need to they're required to do because of lawsuits and everything else from former players. But the fact of the matter is the NFL doesn't believe that concussions are their problem. So everything is a PR stunt. And what happened to Tua was what the system has allowed to happen to players. And a lot of times the reason we don't see a player like Tua end up playing on a Thursday night after being clearly concussed is because the team coaching staff and their own personnel, their own staff, the guys who aren't doctors, step in and say, something's not right. Like you're not good and I'm not letting you play. We've heard players say it over and over again, how many times they were cleared to play and someone else, whether it was a coach or trainer or whatever else, said, like this is wrong. So that didn't happen with the Dolphins. And I'm not here to blame their coaching staff for not being doctors, but the fact of the matter is that's what's been the stopgap for the NFL's failure to really take concussions as seriously as they should. Now, their PR stunt is to say, okay, well, technically the Dolphins followed protocol, but we're gonna make it more strict so that, you know, this isn't going to happen again. What they're really admitting is that their entire concussion protocol was never safe enough for players to begin with. But because they're making changes, their PR push is, look how seriously we're taking this. And so it's always a game. That's always a game with them in terms of player health. And I think it's just a good reminder that like being aware of that is something that is going to be on media and coaching staffs and fans and other players. Those are the people that are going to be taking care of these guys. And the fact of the matter is, yeah, you sign up to get concussions when you play football. You sign up to get torn ACLs. You sign up to get broken ribs. Sign up to get, Achilles ruptured, all that kind of stuff, right? Doesn't mean you sign up to have them ignored. It doesn't mean that you tear both your ACLs and they send you out there anyway. It doesn't mean that you go out there with internal bleeding. It doesn't mean that you go out there with a broken arm to play quarterback. So you shouldn't be going out there and playing with a concussion. And it's that simple. And anybody who says this is what you sign up for is missing the point. Of course, that's what you sign up for. You don't sign up to have it ignored and have doctors who circumvent the protocol to make sure that you get back out on the field. It's just not okay. And so if it took this situation with Tua to bring it to light, that's a real shame because it never, if you read the new protocol, you're like, how were they not doing this in the first place? And that's, again, classic NFL.
Absolutely. I think my last question on this right now is, the injury to Tua looked really scary. I haven't seen, an NFL player doing what that did to him. I don't think I've ever seen that, and I've seen a lot of big hits in the league, and the doctor came out and said Tua should probably think about retiring. Like, do you think that's something you would think about if you were a player?
I mean, it's so hard to say, right? Because they put their whole lives into this and they do the whole horror about brain injuries is that they are cumulative. And the longer you play and the more concussions you get, the more likely it is that you're doing permanent damage. And so I think it's incredibly hard to feel the urgency of that when you're Tua and you're in the prime of your career and you're finally getting things going to say, I'm going to protect my physical future and leave the game. He is undersized. He is at risk for more concussions. Those things are going to happen. But I also think that, there is a way to feel more safe and more protected by the people around you by making your boundaries clear in terms of what you do and don't want to, what circumstances you do and don't want to play under. And I think he can do that. So I don't think that he should retire unless there is serious, a serious belief that another concussion could kill or maim him. I mean, I for sure do think that there is a lot of value in him getting to live out the dream he's worked his entire life for. But I don't think that it comes at the price of, having to, like, I don't think people understand when you get a concussion, recovering from it without getting reconcussed is a really big deal. Like recovering from a concussion safely is going to save you in so many ways compared to going out and getting reconcussed while you're not fully healed. So if he can say, hey, I expect you guys to take me out of games if I am concussed so that my brain can stay somewhat intact, then that's okay. And I respect anybody who does that. But asking players mid-brain injury to think and feel for themselves and to give up their careers because you can't trust doctors and you can't trust your own personnel is unfair. It's just unfair. And Tua probably doesn't have as long of a career as, Justin Herbert, who's huge, or Trevor Lawrence, who's huge. These guys who can stay in the pocket eventually later on in their careers and be fine. He's probably not going to be that guy. He's not Drew Brees. He's not that kind of guy. He's not going to be able to pass his way into 41 years old playing this game. So he's got a short window, and I hope it's not taken away from him because he can't trust the people that are putting him back on the field.
Absolutely. And thank you for that. And I agree with everything you just said. I don't know if any of you guys have any last questions for Tanya. We're closing out here.
Yeah, just had one last question for you, Tanya. I kind of wanted to just get your opinion on this. Who do you think's more responsible for the Patriots dynasty? Is it Bill Belichick or Tom Brady?
Yeah, I mean, I think that in the 21st century, you need a great quarterback. And it doesn't matter how good of a coach you are. You can win one ring without a great quarterback. You can't win 6. That's for sure. And so, you look across the history of the league and you look at the greatness at coaches and, there are some really, really great revolutionary coaches with some amazing ideas that just never came close. And you can see even right now with Belichick's system that he has this amazing defense, amazing kicking game. And without the quarterback, it simply, he cannot get over the hump, right? So I think I'll always give a little bit of extra credit to Brady because of how important the position is itself. But there's no world in which Tom Brady plays for any other team or any other coach and gets to 9 Super Bowls and wins 6 rings. It doesn't happen. He doesn't do it without Belichick. I don't know why our brains can't comprehend 2 GOATs coming together, even though we've seen it. We've seen it with Phil Jackson and Michael Jordan. We've seen it with Phil Jackson and Kobe Bryant. We've seen it with Bill Walsh and Joe Montana. This is not the first time we've seen this happen, where 2 absolute greats come together and create dynasties. And for some reason, we can't wrap our brains around the idea that Belichick, of course, needed a player like Tom Brady to have 20 years of unparalleled, constantly sustained success, and that also Tom Brady would need constant depth on every side of the ball, always have a Hall of Fame kicker, always have a coach that's willing to change and grow and redefine defensively and offensively year in, year out, get ahead of trends, look around the league and say, how can we adapt? The idea that you wouldn't understand that Brady needed that when you can look at Peyton Manning, who has 2 rings, one of which he barely won himself. Aaron Rodgers has 1 ring. Sean Payton has 1 ring. I'm sorry, well, Sean Payton, but also Drew Brees, 1 ring. Ben Roethlisberger, 2 rings. All these guys. Ben Roethlisberger had Mike Tomlin and Cowher. Like, Drew Brees had Sean Payton, Hall of Fame coach. They made 1 Super Bowl. If you don't think they needed each other, I don't know what to tell you.
Can I just add one more thing?
Yeah,
I think it's Belichick's arrogance. I think people just think he's just way too arrogant. So I think even though they believe that for everybody else, I just think they believe Belichick doesn't think he needed Tom Brady to win all those Super Bowls.
which is kind of crazy because Brady's the one who outright said, I don't need Belichick, and went and won another ring. And by the way, hasn't gone well since. Like, the Bucs are a shit show. He didn't get along with Bruce Arians. He's already destroyed his entire personal life and his marriage by, like, so I don't know where, like, they're both arrogant. Have you met Aaron Rodgers? Have you met any other great? Michael Jordan is a sociopath. Kobe Bryant was a borderline sociopath. Like, Larry Bird, literally no one liked him until he was like 55 and finally chilled out. These guys are all arrogant. Like, who are we talking about that's like not arrogant? I'll tell you the one person. It's like Steve Kerr. That's it, right? And like Mike Tomlin because he's cool as shit. But again, Mike Tomlin, for all as good as he is, hasn't been to a Super Bowl since Obama's first administration. So I don't know, like, arrogance or not, that's what you get when you start winning that much.
Well, thank you for answering those questions.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, thank you, Tanya.
Oh my gosh, you guys are so fun. I love talking to all three of you.
Nah, I mean, we love you. We love having you on. You know, it's always a great time. So we love you coming on here and chatting it up with us, and you know, keep kicking ass, you know, with the haters and stuff like that. I see it all the time. I'm cracking up all the time, man. You know, whether it's on Instagram, whether it's on YouTube, you know, you do a great job, and you know, we love the work you do. So again, thank you so much for coming on, and you know, we'd love to have you again, you know, whenever you're available. So
let's do what is it, we're heading into what, week 6 now? So
week 6,
we should like probably do like week like 12 or 13 when we know if things are going to be like, hey, do we have a shot? I can tell you, you have me on then, and I can tell you if there's, you know, any chance the Patriots have a shot at that point. And if there's not, I'll make you feel better about it. It'll be a nice way to either grieve or get excited together. I'll do that.
All right.
Absolutely.
Sounds like a plan. So I'll remember to hit you up. Was it week 12?
Yeah, like week 12 or week 13, once we start knowing if they have a shot. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, no, it sounds good. I'll definitely remember to hit you up and make sure you come on either one of those weeks, so, you know, we can, you know, bring you back and, you know, and
yeah, I got you guys. Yeah, absolutely.
For sure. No, appreciate you for sure. So we'll definitely bring you back then. I'm looking forward to it.
Me too. Yeah, you guys are awesome again. Thank you so much. I love your questions. You guys are really thoughtful in the way that you ask them and the things that you think to talk about. And you know, I do a lot of podcasts, and, you know, I pop on with people all the time, but, you know, being able to ask questions that are worthwhile answering, you know, I don't always get that. Sometimes I gotta force it. Sometimes I gotta just make it happen. And you guys don't make me force it at all. It's really nice to talk to you. So I appreciate coming on. I'm looking forward to catch up with you again in like 6 weeks, seeing where we're all at. And in the meantime, you know, just keep an eye on me firing off on the trolls. And
oh yeah.
Oh, we will. We've been seeing that. Keep doing your thing with that. We see you on that for sure.
Thank you guys so much. Really appreciate you.
Yeah,
All right.
Enjoy the weather, Tanya.
Thank you. Good luck with fall.
All right,
Yeah. Appreciate it. Enjoy the rest of your birthday, Tanya. Thank you so much.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
That was awesome.
Oh, man, it was always
Tanya
great
Ray Fox,
having
everybody.
Tanya Ray Fox. Always great having her on.
It's always,
Yeah,
it's also always good to just hear somebody that's doing podcasts all the time, doing media all the time, say, you know, give us kudos. I think it feels good.
Well, we're doing something, all right. You know.
Sure are.
You know.
Good job, Barry.
Make sure
Good
you guys
job. Sorry, John. Good job again, Barry,
Yeah.
for getting her on, and make sure you get her on week
12 or week 13. Definitely. Well, I'm gonna look at the schedule and make sure that I, you know, keep track of those dates, and we'll definitely hit her back up on week 12 or week 13 to bring her back on the podcast for sure. Absolutely. I'll definitely make that happen for sure.
Great. Make sure you guys, we're going to continue following Tanya. Make sure you guys are doing that as well. It's at Tanya Ray Fox on Twitter and on Instagram as well. Make sure you guys are supporting the channel, subscribing, liking and sharing the videos, and make sure you follow us on social media as well. We're at ProFan Sports on everything except for Instagram. It's at ProFans_sports. And until the next episode, thank you for supporting. Thanks for watching. We'll holler at y'all.
Peace out, everyone. Have a good week. See y'all next week.